These two products here, Aquilim GL and Aquilim SG, are sort of a replacement for the classic rubber cement or rubber solution. So the idea is to provide an adhesive, or in this case two, that have a weaker bond than a classic contact adhesive and that can be repositioned just as rubber cement would be. So the idea is to have the bond repositionable, reopenable, so this is something that these two adhesives have been developed for. So let's go into the differences. Aquilim GL is more of a, at first, weaker contact cement. It has very similar properties to Aquilim 315. The main difference is that it is slower, so it does not develop its full bonding strength as quickly as the 315 would. So with Aquilim GL, depending on how you want to work, if you work one-sided wet or two-sided dry, you can always split the bond again for about half an hour, 1 hour, and rejoin the parts without destroying the adhesive film. The final bond, if you don't do this too often, the final bond is just about as strong as the 315 would be. Of course, if you reposition it multiple times, the final bond will deteriorate a little bit. The idea is here not to use this as the only thing that keeps two pieces together, but basically to use it, for instance, in shoe upper construction, in making leather goods, to hold pieces together for sewing. So in this case, especially on larger pieces or on more complicated shapes, it is very easy to put pieces together, to do that bit by bit, to reposition. Also, for instance, when you put in a zipper, same problem. And then when the desired position of the part is reached, when the desired shape is reached, you can very easily sew through it. Doesn't clog the needle, no problem at all. You can use it as a contact adhesive as well. Just keep in mind, it's a bit slower than the 315. The bond cannot be strained as much as quickly, but if you don't open it, it will reach the same final bonding strength, so it could be used as a full strength contact cement. It's a bit of an in-between, a bit of a hybrid. Now, the Aquilim SG is a full pressure sensitive adhesive, so it doesn't cure, it does not become permanent ever. You could literally take pieces apart that have been bonded with this after weeks, after months. So it always needs to be secured on top of the actual bond with stitching, with any other mechanical method to keep it in place. It will never cure, it will never hold on its own. Of course, if you bond very light materials with this, such as paper, such as cardboard, such as leatherboard, the material will pull apart before the adhesive does, so in that case it would work as a permanent adhesive with the strength limitations that the material has, not the adhesive. But on leather, on rubber, on foams, this will always be removable. So why would you want to do this? Same reason why you use a rubber cement or why you would use the Aquilim GL. In order to be able to reposition, in order to be able to work bit by bit to achieve a more complicated shape, for instance in shoe upper construction, in making leather goods, than you could with contact adhesive, where basically everything has to be where it's supposed to be on the first job. In this case, you can modify, you can move it around. One additional advantage this has over the GL and over contact adhesives is that it works one-sided. Not one-sided wet, that's the difference, but one-sided dry. So you would coat one side, bonding leather to leather. You would typically coat the flesh side. Do not coat the grain side. You also don't have to roughen that up. Just coat the flesh side, let it dry completely until it turns completely clear. It forms an extremely tacky layer, and that layer is so sticky that it will hold on the grain side or on other closed surfaces, compact surfaces, smooth surfaces without any adhesive on that side. Again, it's not a contact bond, it's just a pressure sensitive bond, so you can always peel it off, but it will hold when you stitch it. One application example for this is broguing, or anything that involves holes, decorative holes in the surface. Yeah, broguing, as far as shoes are concerned. So what happens there is if you work with rubber cement or if you work with contact adhesive, you will always have adhesive on both sides, otherwise you couldn't get it to bond. So in those little holes you will have adhesive, and you need to take that out, otherwise it will turn brown over time and just generally look very ugly. With Aquilim SG you don't have to do that. You only have adhesive on the back, on the flash side, which is the side where you actually do the broguing, where you actually have the little holes. So you punch out that adhesive, it's not there anymore, and there is none on the other side, on the grain side, so you stick the pieces together, you sew them, and you never have to worry about peeling adhesive out. That is one interesting application example where this is superior to the classic rubber cement, rubber solution, which still has its places, so no doubt about that. So this cannot replace, these two cannot replace it in every application. But especially on lighter materials, especially shoe upper construction, especially lighter leather goods, they both offer very interesting alternatives, and they have the benefit of being completely solvent free, of not having an odor, of not being flammable. So storage is much easier as long as you can keep it from freezing. Transportation is much easier, and you don't have to worry about fume extraction, especially if you're working from your own home or in a small workshop.